Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Anne's Wellness Reset. Could I be honest with you? We all know after 50, it's important to work out. But truthfully, having the motivation to do so is another story. That's what I want to talk about today. How do we get the motivation to work out and then sustain that motivation to keep doing it? I'd like to tell you my experience as well. So as you know, as we go through menopause, we start to lose muscle. So we lose some strength, we lose some balance, some stability, and we lose some independence, and it affects our metabolism. So we know we should be working out. Now, we're not always motivated to work out, and it's not because we're necessarily lazy. There are some real reasons for it. Sometimes it's just quite overwhelming. There are so many things to consider, so many options out there, and we actually don't always know how to start. One of the biggest things that we actually don't talk about that's that I have experienced, and maybe you have as well, is the intimidation and fear that comes along with doing something that we've not done before. So I used to, for example, do a lot of aerobics, in my 20s, 30s, and 40s. But in my 50s, I realized that I needed to do something more when I decided that I would start strength training. I had never done it before. So it was intimidating. The idea of going to a gym with people that knew what they were doing, with equipment that I had no idea how to use, with people that were much stronger and fitter than me and younger, it was intimidating. Also, the fact that going to a gym, strength training, where there often are, a lot of men, obviously, and I didn't always feel comfortable sweating. I hate to admit it, but it's true. It is intimidating to do something that we're not used to doing. And I was also a little fearful of bulking up. Now, I think we all know that it's a lot harder for women, especially their 50s and above, to bulk up. But there's still that fear. And we're so used to looking at the scale. We don't want to gain weight, right? That's why we were doing all the aerobic activity in our 30s and 40s. We didn't want to gain weight. And now we don't want to lose strength. And that means we need to maintain our muscle. And that means we shouldn't be worried as much about what the scale says, but more what our clothes say, how tight our clothes are, what our measurements are, how we look and how we feel. For me, I want to feel strong. I want to feel capable, competent, independent, and have energy as I age. So intimidation is a big thing. What I realized is that you don't wait around to be motivated. I found that I needed to get moving to be motivated. Just to start small. If I had in my mind that I was going to go and do an hour workout, 30 minutes of strength training, 30 minutes of elliptical, it would have been overwhelming to me. But if I just said, look, Anne, go to the gym, just go. 10 minutes, do what you're comfortable with, and try one or two pieces of equipment that you've never tried before. Start small and build on successes. That's what I found. You don't have to be perfect. You'll notice changes and you'll build on your successes. So what did I do? Well, in my late 50s, I decided, because of the intimidation factor, and I was in a very high stress job, I decided that I would go and sign up to a women's gym. The upside was that all of the equipment was made for women, and it wasn't as busy as a normal gym. The downside was it was a little expensive, and I walked there, and even though it was a 10-minute walk there and a 10-minute walk back, just that time factor was an issue with me, probably because I was in a high-stress job at the time, and I was limited, but in my mind, I felt I had to work out for an hour if I was going to go. Had I limited myself to 30 minutes, probably would have been a better outcome. The next thing I tried was, I thought, well, maybe I need somebody to, go with me. So I'm more enthusiastic about going. And maybe they'll introduce me to weight training. dumbbells, for example. So my husband and I signed up to another gym, and we only signed up for 10 or 12 sessions, and he showed me his routine. So we took turns, and it was wonderful going with him because it was something we could do together. However, I didn't know how to use all the equipment. I wasn't as comfortable, and it was very busy. So I was still a little intimidated. So that's when I decided that I was going to sign up for a class aimed at women 50 plus, and it was an introduction to equipment in the gym. We did strength training equipment, we did dumbbells, and we even did some high intensity aerobic. So that allowed me to be with women. I was comfortable. I built my competence and I learned how to use the equipment. I would recommend that for anyone. If you want to start slowly and learn how to use the equipment and not be injured, because they're going to teach you how to do it the right way. Another one you could try would be a personal trainer. You don't need a personal trainer for more than 1 or 2 sessions to give you a routine, to show you how to use the equipment. And that's another way of doing it in a manner that you're not feeling intimidated. It's a private class and you're building some skills and you're building some competence. I'll have to tell you though, what happened is the reason then we didn't continue with that gym is because we then moved from the city to the country. And even though we had a gym in the country, it was 20-minute drive away. So 20-minute one way, 20 minutes back, that was 40 minutes and then a workout. So we bought the passes, but we didn't use them as much because we needed to commit more time to be able to use them. And then COVID hit and all the gyms shut down. That's when we decided that we would have a little mini gym in our home. We converted a rec room into a gym. And we just bought dumbbells and I bought a used elliptical. At the time, I still had not developed a good training program using dumbbells. So I went on YouTube and I found a wonderful YouTuber called Lift with C. And I'll share that information in the description box below. I was then aiming to do weight training with this program 3 times a week. That was 3 years ago. I wasn't consistent 3 times a week. Sometimes I was, but there would be periods of time where I would miss up to a whole month because of something that would come up in my life. Nevertheless, we had the dumbbells, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I would mostly use those weights. And over time, I used higher weights, but I started small. I started low. And what I loved about Lift with C is she shows you how to lift properly. It's a 30-minute all body workout, back, arms, shoulders, core, legs. It's an excellent workout. And I will do 3 of those a week. And then the next week, I'll switch the routine to another program that she has. So that's what I did. And I feel that between that and the high intensity workout that I would do on the elliptical, which I'll talk about in another video, worked very, very well for me. My goal is 3 times a week of strength training, 2 days of HIIT, and 1 day where I'm just going to go biking and enjoy myself and a day off. It works. That's my goal. Give yourself grace if you don't meet your goal every week. But I tell you what, the way I'm consistent is mostly about making it part of my routine. So for me, I work out after coffee. I link the workouts to post-coffee event. If I don't do it after my coffee, I'm not going to do it during the day because guess what? The rest of our lives take over, other things happen. But that's the way I do it. So start small, try and stay consistent. And how do you keep it going? You focus on the successes, right? So I noticed an increase in strength. So when my strength increased, I would increase the weight of the dumbbells. I was also becoming more competent. My endurance was improving on the elliptical. I was able to lift things without worrying about injury. So, just building on successes and feeling motivated because my body composition was changing. My muscle mass was increasing. Fat was decreasing. A little bit more definition in my arms. It was exciting to see those small changes, and that is very motivating on itself. So I'm 65. I'm enjoying the routine I have right now, which is working out in my home gym. It doesn't mean that that will be my routine forever, but it resolved the time issue that I had. And I don't need to worry about how I look, and I don't need to worry about what I'm wearing. It made it easy, but it's not necessarily the thing for everybody. It's just what's working for me now. So tell me, what do you do? Tell me in the comments below, what do you do to get motivated and to stay motivated? I hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you found this helpful, please subscribe. See you on the next one.